to be coming to you live. Today is Monday. It's Mindset Monday. We're excited about the week ahead. This is Christmas week. We're just a few days away from Christmas, so we want to focus in today, Mindset Monday, talking about being present for the holiday. So if you joined us for Mindset Monday in the past, we've talked about mindfulness as a key principle of health and wellness. And we're going to take that same principle and the same concept, and we're just going to look at it through the lens of the holiday season. So before we get into that, I just want to give a little bit of kind of context about the idea of mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is a term we use all the time, being more mindful with our eating, or more mindful with our thoughts, or more mindful in our relationships, or mindful in our conversations, mindful with our words. Today, we want to talk about this idea of mindfulness and just being present. That's really what mindfulness is, our ability to be present, to be focused in the here and now. Now, when I'm working with clients here in our clinic, in my office, I have this big whiteboard, and oftentimes when I'm talking about mindfulness, I'm talking about the struggle that it is to stay present. I'll often write on my whiteboard these simple three words: past, present, and future. Think about it as the most basic timeline: past, present, and future. And when I jot that on the board, I'll often put a line separating past from present and another line separating present from future. And then just start to explain about our emotional experience, our experience with thought, our experience in relationships, what happens in the past, what happens in the present, and what happens in the future. So, just a part of our conversation for today, let me give you just a really, really simple example. When we think about our emotional experience, we quickly recognize that most of our emotions either live in the past or they live in the future, even though the emotions we can only experience in the present. Okay, so if you're tracking with me, again, this simple idea that we can only feel what we feel in the present. But when we feel those feelings, they tend to be influenced by things that have already happened or things that haven't yet happened. Let me give you a couple of examples of this. So, this idea of the feeling of uh, sadness. Typically, the feeling of sadness, you ask the question, why? What are you feeling? I'm sad. Well, why are you sad? And then we would talk about something in past tense because of something that happened yesterday or this thing that happened last month, right? Sadness is a response to that. In fact, at the holidays, really any time of the year, but we kind of think about it here at the holidays, is the emotion of grief, right? It's the response to loss. Well, when we think about loss, it's loss about something that's in the past, right? Often we think about loss of a loved one, or loss of a freedom or an ability or an expression or an experience, right? Typically, we're talking about something that's already happened, something that's taken place in the past. We can have an emotion of frustration, right? And we feel it in the present, but it's related to something that's already happened, right? Whether that was 2 seconds ago, 2 minutes ago, 2 hours ago, 2 days ago, 2 months ago, 2 years ago, right? An experience of frustration in the present, typically related to something that's already taken place. All right, I could keep going with this long list, but let me talk about in this idea of in the future. We have this emotional experience about things that haven't yet happened. Think about it this way: I have the emotional experience of worry. And we ask the question, what am I feeling? I'm feeling worried. We ask the follow up question, why? Why am I worried? We might think about, because I have this project due at the end of the week and I got to get it done. I'm worried won't be enough time. Right? It's forward thinking. Similar emotion of concern. What am I feeling? I'm feeling concerned. Why am I feeling concerned? Because I'm concerned about how this is going to play out. I'm concerned about how it's going to work. I'm concerned if it's going to happen or not happen, right? Forward thinking. Most commonly, we think about the idea of anxiousness, right? The emotion of anxiety. You know, when I think about these other, I'm anxious, I'm worried, I'm nervous, I'm stressed. Any of these kinds of emotions we can think about, they're related to things that haven't happened yet. Okay, so why is this relevant to our conversation today? This mindset about being present. And it's this idea. When we think about being present, being here and now, we're often bombarded by these emotions, as I talked about, or oftentimes there's thoughts, oftentimes there's situations and circumstances and the things that surround us that are either pulling us into the past or pushing us into the future. Like, have you ever had those moments like where you get ready for bed and you turn off the lights and you lay in bed and all of a sudden your brain just won't shut off? You're constantly replaying what happened in your mind today. You're starting to kind of anticipate and work out in your mind what's going to might happen tomorrow. That's a great example of this, right? Here we are in the present. It's time for bed. We want to turn our brain off. We want to roll over and we want to go to sleep, but we can't. Right? There's something pushing or pulling. And it's that kind of experience when we think about the challenge that we're posed with around being present, around this idea of mindfulness. So, the strategies of mindfulness, the exercises of mindfulness, simply help us to work towards being focused. Our ability to set aside, push away, right, thoughts and feelings and experiences that consume us about the past, and those same things about the future. So if you've been with us on Mondays before, we've practiced some of these mindfulness exercises. So just as a reminder, one of those great mindfulness exercises is breathing. Why breathing? Because it just helps us get in touch with our physical self, right? Our ability to like put our hand on our chest and feel our heartbeats, right? The consistent and the steady beat of our heart. Or for us to put our hand on our diaphragm and feel our breathing, like our ability to slow down, our ability to focus in. We've practiced a couple times on Mindset Monday, what I call the 3-3 principle, our ability to focus on three of our five senses, our ability to focus in on three certain things within those three senses, which I'm going to circle back to in just a few moments as we talk about how to be present in the holidays. But I just referenced that there's, again, these practical examples for us to be present. All right, so as we think about this, this idea of being present during the holiday season, and we use this framework of mindfulness, I just want to walk you through a few things that will help us in the next few days. The first thing is I just want you to consider with me, just going with me for a moment with this. Think about one thing you love most about the Christmas season. Take a moment. Think about one thing that you love most about the Christmas season. It might be the Christmas music. It might be the lights. It might be a favorite food or a Christmas cookie or a treat. It might be spending time with your favorite people. I just identify one thing that you love most about the Christmas season. Okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to do what we call set an intention. Set an intention. And it's something like this. Today, we'll focus on slowing down and being present to embrace the true meaning of Christmas. Let's explore how to trade holiday stress for joy and mindfulness. Let's explore how to trade holiday stress for joy and mindfulness. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to go back to that thing that's your favorite thing that you love about the Christmas season. As we mentioned this, set the intention. I want you to just make a commitment to slow down, pay attention, and be present with that thing that you identified that you love about the Christmas season. Okay. So a few things about this idea of being present. So I mentioned some mindful breathing. We already talked about the idea of embracing the present. The present, again, this idea of being able to set aside, push aside those things that are pulling us into the past, those things that are pushing us into the future, our ability to be present. It's incredible, actually, it's an incredible gift that we can give ourselves and we can give others. In fact, one of the things I love about the idea of presence, right? And this idea of the holiday season, we have presence as in being present, right? And then we have, of course, the holiday idea of presents, right? Like putting a present under the tree or giving a present to someone else or receive a present from someone. But think about it this way: presence is a gift. Present is a present that we get to give to ourselves. Like for those of us people of faith, we think about this idea of Jesus is the ultimate gift. He's the ultimate present. In fact, it says in the New Testament, it talks about the narrative of the Bible, in the Bible about the Christmas story. It says, and he will be called Emmanuel, this idea of God with us, right? That Jesus came to be present with us. I love that nuance and that's part about the story. Okay, so let's talk about this idea of what does the role of mindfulness do for us in the holiday season? Well, what mindfulness does is it helps us savor our traditions, our interactions, the moments that matter most. Right in the midst of the hustle and the bustle and the busyness and the rush and the stress of the holidays. So think about it this way. Okay, maybe set another intention. So instead of the multitasking during the Christmas season, right, rather than just staying busy, 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 what if we could focus on laughter? What if we could focus on flavors and smells? What if we could focus on the warmth of each and every moment? So how do we do this? Here's a couple practical tools for us. First is this: savoring holiday moments. Okay, fully experiencing the sensory details in a moment. So as I mentioned earlier, when we do mindfulness exercise, oftentimes we tap into our five senses. Put that into practice over these next few days. Savoring holiday moments. Simply this: be fully alert and fully aware with your senses. So if you are going to partake in a cup of cocoa, like smell it before you drink it. Hold the warm mug and feel it. Right? Take a sip. Right? Experience the flavors of the drink. Right? If it's looking at Christmas lights, maybe you're in the car and maybe you have the chance, you can maybe roll down the window. You can feel the cool air. Right? You can hear the what's coming from outside the car. Are there other cars? Are there neighbors out? Is there music playing? Your ability to slow down, like park the car, sit and watch the lights, pay attention to the twinkling, pay attention to the diversity in colors or in decorations. All right, slow down. One of the greatest things we can sensory in the Christmas season is smell, right? So, whether we're walking into a kitchen where somebody is preparing a Christmas meal, or we have a favorite scent, a candle, or some kind of incense during the holiday season, right? Pay attention to it. The sense of touch is important, whether that's cuddling up with somebody next to you, whether that is having a blanket around you, whether that's the ugly Christmas sweater you plan to put on for one of your holiday parties, right? Our ability to savor holiday moments through our five senses. All right, another way that we can practice tools for being present is setting boundaries. Setting boundaries around time, right? Be intentional with our time. Setting boundaries about what we're going to say yes to and what we're going to say no to, and sometimes includes who we're going to say yes to and who we're going to say no to. We can set boundaries with ourselves. We can set boundaries with other people. We can set boundaries with our eating. We can set boundaries with our spending. There's so many ways we can set boundaries, but this idea of savoring holiday moments requires us to be intentional. All right, another one that we talk about all the time that is so meaningful, so impactful, and so effective is practicing gratitude for the season. So, one of the ways we can continue to be present is by practicing gratitude. Gratitude allows us to be in the moment, especially if we can pair that with the idea of contentment. Pairing it with contentment. So often at the holidays, we get caught up in the game of comparison. Our lights don't look as good as the neighbor's lights, or the gifts under our tree aren't as many as the gifts under somebody else's tree, or the tree itself isn't as pretty as somebody else's tree, or the gift that somebody got me is bigger than the gift that I got them, or the trip that our neighbors are going to go on is going to be way more fun than the staycation that we're going to be doing when we're here, or whatever it might be. We so easily get caught up in the game of comparison. One of the things we can do to practice these next few days is the ability to be content. And the way that we do that is through the work of gratitude. So when we have those moments, those thoughts that jump into our mind of we wish it were different, we wish it were better, we wish we had what somebody else we had, we wish we were experiencing something that someone else was experiencing, pause in those moments, catch ourselves in the act, and practice gratitude. Gratitude that we're in a warm house, or gratitude that we get to eat a meal, or gratitude that we get to have a phone call with a friend, or gratitude that we get to spend some time with meaningful people in our lives. Okay. So, lastly, I want to talk about this idea of overcoming holiday stress. So, if you've joined us the last 14 days, in fact, today is the last day of our 14-day challenge on a less stressed holiday. It's been an incredible journey over these last 14 days. Thank you to all of you who have been a part of the challenge, those who have been able to comment and let us know how you're doing, or each day maybe posting something to let us know that you're putting into practice what you're learning. Love that you're doing that. Okay, so overcoming holiday stress. Holiday stress often happens because we're overscheduling, we're pushing towards perfectionism, we are over committing, we are financially burdened. So, this idea of a less stressed holiday is our ability Similar to this in mindfulness is our ability to slow down, our ability to be intentional, our ability to be focused, our ability to be present. So, one of the ways we can do that, overcoming holiday stress, is to reframe. So, what is reframing? It's our ability to see a certain situation in a different light. So here's an example for you that I wrote down. I want you to reflect on a current holiday stressor. Okay, think of it in your mind for a moment. What's one thing that's maybe more stressful than other things as you think about the holidays? Things that might be happening today, Christmas Eve tomorrow, Christmas Day on Wednesday, later into the week as you gather with friends and family for the holiday. Okay, let me give you an example. Here's a stressor. Hosting Christmas dinner is overwhelming. Okay, that's a statement coming from a stressor perspective. So here's a reframe for that exact experience. Something like this: I have the opportunity to create memories with loved ones, even if it's imperfect. Do you get that? Here's the stressing set. Hosting Christmas dinner is overwhelming. Here's the reframe set. I have the opportunity to create memories with loved ones, even if it's imperfect. If we can begin to embrace statements like that, our stress begins to decrease, right? We start to experience it differently because we're now starting to frame it differently, right? So rather than being caught up in all of the stresses, it has to be perfect, right? How we have to have the perfect meal, the perfect time, and the perfect tree, and the perfect table setting, and everything has to go in order, and we have to do the timing that's just perfect, and the right people who are coming has to be perfect, and I have to be presentable perfectly, and I have to make sure that my outfit is perfect, and everything is perfect, perfect, perfect. Well, of course, it's going to be overwhelming. What if we could let go of that? What if we can reframe, as this example that I shared, to be able to say, hey, what I'm going to hold on to is making memories. What I'm going to hold on to is having meaningful moments with the people I love. What I'm going to let go of is any expectation that it has to be perfect. That is a classic example of reframing. So think about that today, tomorrow, into the week. Determine with intention what you're going to hold on to, what matters most. Making memories, making meaningful connections, being with other people, right? The things that matter most, and begin to let go of things that matter less. Anything that is in the direction of perfection. All right. Lastly, I want to talk about this idea of setting boundaries for joy. If you were with us for Faithful Friday of the last couple weeks, we talked about love and joy and peace and hope. We think about this idea of setting boundaries for joy. So encourage saying no to unnecessary comments, to say yes to presence. It's a boundary. Encourage saying no to unnecessary commitments so that you can say yes to presence. So instead of attending 3 holiday parties in 1 week, focus on one meaningful gathering. Okay, that'd be a great example, right? Instead of trying to cram everything in and try to get it all done and to be overwhelmed and to be uh, over committed, right? What if you could set some boundaries with yourself, with others, and I mentioned in other ways, to be able to say, rather than rush, I'm going to rest. In order for me to say yes to being present, I might have to say no to some of those other commitments. So here's what I'd love you to do as we wrap up today. Love for you to just jot down. I mean, if you want to write it down in a journal, or you just want to process it uh, uh, with yourself or with someone else, how over the next few days you can push away those thoughts and those feelings that consume you about the past, right? Those thoughts and feelings about things that pull you into the future, those things that haven't happened yet, but you're worried and concerned and nervous and stressed. And just give yourself a reprieve. Give yourself some time and some space. Set apart. Set apart this holiday to be present. And if in the midst of that you find that you need to be able to set some boundaries, consider what those boundaries are. In fact, I would encourage you to assess what those boundaries are, establish what those boundaries are, communicate if they're with other people what those boundaries are, and then as needed, find ways to be able to enforce those boundaries. If you're going to say yes to being present, consider ways you might need to say no to some of these other things that are going to push and pull against your ability to do that. All right, it's great to be here with you today. Just so you're aware, we're going to take a break. We're going to set apart some time to be present with our friends and family. So on Wednesday, we're going to skip our Wednesday, which is usually a Wellness Wednesday. Again, on Friday, when we do Faithful Friday, we're going to take a pause this week so we can actually practice what we preach. We're looking forward to being back with you next week. So God bless you. May you experience His presence this Christmas season as you're present with Him, with yourself, and with others. Merry Christmas.